I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey you guys, and welcome back to the News du Jour, a calmer space to consume the news. So for today, I have one mini story for you guys, two smaller stories, and then we are going to take a deep dive into the Long Island serial killer case and exactly how they solved it. Let's jump in. So first and foremost, I said we're going to have one mini story. I wanted to let you guys know that a case that seemed to have run cold for so long has a new lead. So a known gang member's home was searched on Monday looking for electronics that could possibly link him to Tupac Shakur's killing. This man whose home was searched, he's about 60 years old, and he's known as Kefe, spelled a couple of different ways, Kefe D. In case you're not familiar with the case, Tupac Shakur was an immensely talented rapper who was shot and killed in a drive-by right in his prime at age 25. It was a very tragic case, and it's painful thinking of the works of genius that died with him. Let's hope that there can be some justice in this cold case that has dragged on for 27 years. We'll keep you guys posted. And our next story today, a little bit longer, Russia and a drone in Syria. So reports have come out that this past Sunday, a Russian fighter jet actually fired directly at a U.S. drone that was flying over Syria. They damaged the propeller of the drone in the process, and it's hard to tell what Russia really hoped to gain from such an intentional and yet inconsequential maneuver. This doesn't exactly throw us off course. It's just annoying and borderline provocative. And if you guys remember, something similar happened right off the coast of Alaska where Russian fighter jets almost flew into U.S. airspace and then quickly, flew away. It's this type of behavior that is just so unnecessary and, again, inconsequential. And yet it does raise tensions a bit between the two countries because it is annoying. It almost reminds me of that little brother who can't stop poking the older brother. That is, until the older brother gets pushed too far and has to clap back. Let's hope it doesn't get to that point. And next up for today, I wanted to tell you guys about a man found out at sea. So this story is nuts, you guys. But an Australian sailor by the name of Tim Shaddock was lost at sea for legit 2 freaking months. And this was all with his dog. They survived, though. When they were finally found, the man had a huge grown-out beard, and he and his dog were both pretty emaciated. But he was alive, as was his pup. And you see, this guy had charted this path from Mexico to French Polynesia, but he encountered a massive storm that set them off course, destroyed all of his electronics, and even damaged his vessel. So he was stranded without any way to kind of radio to land or let anyone know where he was. He collected rainwater for himself and his pet, and they caught and ate raw fish to stay alive. And he said they tried to stay out of the sun by huddling under his boat's tiny canopy. Luckily, a fishing crew off the coast of Mexico spotted them and rescued them, bringing them back to shore. The pair immediately needed first aid. Despite the canopy, the man was very sunburned, and both of them were incredibly dehydrated and hungry. He admitted to being very traumatized after the event, but said he won't let it keep him from sailing. And for our final story today, I do have to issue a content warning. This story involves torture and a serial killer. So we're going to spend the rest of today's episode discussing the prolific Long Island serial killer and how he was finally caught. So a serial killer has been on the loose for decades, you guys, and he has finally been captured. He preyed on vulnerable women in Long Island on the fringes of society. Police presume that he knew his time was coming because he was repeatedly Google searching for updates on his case, according to the Independent UK. He also dug into details on his victims' families, podcasts, and documentaries on the subject, and more. He was enthralled with his own evil acts. He would pick up petite sex workers using a burner phone. Then this killer would bind them, kill them, sexually assault them, and dump them in Gilgo Beach. He would then toss those burner phones, making it hard to track him. He is believed to have had 11 victims in total. There were also these female hairs found at several of the scenes that did not belong to the victim, but all of these hairs belonged to the same woman. So they knew whoever's hair this was, whatever matched the DNA profile of these hairs, was either their killer, an accomplice, or someone close to that person. Police later discovered that these hairs belonged to a woman living on Long Island who was out of town on the dates when these victims were killed. Once they made that connection, they knew this woman's husband, who was at home on Long Island during the killings, was most likely their guy. They then matched a male hair found on one of the victims to the husband. They arrested and charged this man, Rex Howerman, with 3 murders, and he has been named the lead suspect in a 4th. Although they suspect he is the killer in all 11 slayings, according to NBC News. He cried in court and pled not guilty to all charges. A lot of people have since come forward in shock or disbelief at this news. You see, Rex was an architect in Manhattan, and he belonged to a popular networking group called the Dream Team. So a lot of people did actually come in contact with him. A girl I heard on TikTok said she attended such a networking event with him, as she is an interior designer who often works with architects, and she found him to be creepy and conceited from day one. Here's a bit of what she said.
Him and I both know Rex Hewerman. I met him through a networking group in Manhattan I'm a part of, or was a part of, because I'm an interior designer that runs my own business. And Rex joined shortly after to network for his architecture company. Just everything about him, his mannerisms, how full of himself that he was, how odd he was. He was always very sweaty and not very nice to talk to and creepy. And it all makes so much sense. He was so full of himself. I just thought he was an architect that thought he was God's gift to this world. But no, he's literally a serial killer. So one of the things that I always pull out of my conversation toolbox is, oh, do you listen to podcasts? Who doesn't love a good podcast? Of course he doesn't. And he asks me the first thing about myself, and he asks back, do you like any podcasts? And I say, yeah, I listen to some comedy, history ones, and then I used to listen to a lot of true crime, but it's a little dark for me, so I don't really listen anymore. And he asks me, do you have a favorite case? A favorite true crime case? And I say, no, I don't. I have a podcast I used to listen to, Crime Junkie. And he asks me if I know. I'm not making this up at all. I'm just so shocked. I need to share this with somebody. All of TikTok. He asked me, do I know about the Gilgo Beach murders? And of course I do. I'm pretty sure there's a multi-part episode on Crime Junkie. And I'm like, yeah, of course I know. And he goes on to tell me, yeah, that's a serial killer that was never caught in my hometown, my neighborhood where I live. And tells me the guy killed 10 people and might still be out there. And I make a joke and I'm like, yeah, you never know who you're talking to. Anybody could be I could be a serial killer. And he laughed at that.
In case anyone else out there is a crime junkie fan, full body chills from that. But other women have also come forward saying that he spoke to them about the Gilgo Beach murders, kind of hypothesizing about who could have done them and how they were carried out. He also likely called the victims' families, as one father of a victim said that he would get these strange hang-up phone calls in the evening leading up to Rex's capture, and the caller was a male and would ask, "Are you enjoying your dinner?" And the man's daughter's case would be playing on the news in the background of that phone call, and then the person would hang up. He would also call, and one time he asked the victim's father, "Are you enjoying your pizza?" And then there would be a ring at the doorbell with a pizza delivery man trying to deliver Domino's pizzas that they had not ordered. He also called a different family from their dead loved one's cell phone. He kept their cell phone in order to call and basically taunt the family members. Absolutely sickening. A pickup truck also played a role in the investigation's closure, as a pimp for these various women was able to describe this vehicle that was later linked to Rex. The investigative team executed 300 subpoenas and search warrants and similar legal tactics to get the information that they needed to really close this case. When they figured out that Rex's normal cell phone, though, was also pinging at the same towers at the same times as the burner phones, that was an incredibly important piece of evidence. They also tended to ping off of two important locations: the towers for his Manhattan office and the towers for his home in Long Island. He used these burner phones to set up fake Tinder accounts and also search for violent, torture-related pornography as well as child pornography. With all of this evidence mounting, it is clear that Rex will face an uphill battle in court between his DNA, his wife's DNA, the truck, the cell phone pings, and the internet searches, and there may be even more evidence that the police has that the public isn't aware of. I'd say it's pretty much a done deal. As these things progress, though, we will be sure to keep you guys posted. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Beware, for I am fearless, and therefore I am powerful." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review or shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram and just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.